By age 3, most children grow out of the following phonological processes or patterns of speech sound errors. Denasalization, like doze instead of the word nose. Reduplication, so instead of saying bottle, they'll say buhbuh, where they're repeating sounds in a word. Final consonant devoicing, so at the end of words, they're shutting off their voice when their voice should stay turned on, like saying pick instead of pig. Final consonant deletion, which is dropping the last sound of a word, like saying ca instead of cat. Stopping F or S. So instead of saying some, a kid might say tum, or instead of phone, they might say tone. Affrication is where they add an extra sound. So instead of saying door, they might say joor. Velar assimilation is when sounds are repeated at the back of the tongue. So instead of saying guck, a kid might say guck. And the final phonological process to be eliminated around age 3 is nasal assimilation. So instead of saying candy, a child might say nanny, replacing other sounds with a nasal sound. The phonological processes or patterns of speech sound errors that are expected to be eliminated around age 4 include backing, where sounds that are supposed to be produced with the front of the tongue are produced with the back of the tongue. So instead of saying dog, a kid might say gog. The next process is fronting, and it's the exact opposite, where sounds that are supposed to be produced with the back of your tongue are produced with the front of your tongue. So instead of saying cat, they might say tat. By age 4, kids often stopping z and v. Those two sounds are ones that can be prolonged, whereas stops actually stop the flow of air, like p, b, t, d, k, g. You can't hold those sounds for a long time. De-affrication is when a sound that is technically comprised of two sounds, like ch, which is made up of t plus sh, ch, is reduced to just a single sound. So a kid might say ship instead of chip. Cluster reduction without s, so for example, clown or please might go to cown or peas. And finally, weak syllable deletion, where the weak syllable in a word is eliminated. Like instead of saying potato, they might just say tato. By age 5, most children grow out of the following errors: stopping the sounds sh, ch, j, and v. Depalatalization is where a sound that is produced at the palate, like sh or zh, is produced elsewhere. So someone might say fit instead of fish. By age 5, children are able to include both sounds in consonant clusters that include s, like stop. The patterns of sound errors that are generally eliminated by age 6 include the following: gliding L and R. So instead of saying red, they might say wed, or instead of saying learn, they might say yearn. A similar process is vowelization for L and R, and that is where those two sounds go to a vowel-like sound, like help instead of help, instead of R, animal instead of animal. Labialization is where sounds that are not produced at the lips become produced at the lips. Like if a kid says po instead of toe. Coalescence is when two sounds are replaced with a different sound. So instead of saying smile, your kid might say file. Finally, prevocalic voicing is where kids improperly turn on their voice before a vowel, like gum instead of come. Finally, by age 8, the last phonological process that is usually eliminated is epenthesis, or adding a syllable where there shouldn't be one. For example, blue instead of blue.